Kia ora, good morning. So, going back to doing what I love to do. Oh, I can't wait to be able to just be done with all this New World Order Illuminati nonsense. I can't wait for this holy war to be over so that I can go back to doing what I love. Also, my Connecting the Dots podcasts. I'm thinking I might go back to calling it all the mystery inside history, or the mysteries inside history. Going back to grassroots, the mystery inside history. Anyway, I was having my breakfast after I just blitzed Elon Musk and Keir Starmer and all that, and I was watching Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. So back to the original, right? And the first case was talking about the strange disappearance of Judy Smith. And I started listening to it, and it just, all my senses started pinging. So I started looking into it. And even though her husband is no longer alive, I have my suspicions about what happened. There's a lot of things that don't add up, and there's a lot of things that even the police thought was a bit weird. If I go quiet for a minute, it's just because the kettle's boiled and I want to have my second coffee. So, right, just let me go and get my second coffee. Hang on, I'll be back in a sec. Right. Sorry about that. I should have gotten my coffee first, but okay. So the first thing I thought when I heard how they went to go on their trip and she forgot her driver's license, which according to her children and everybody who knew her, that wasn't like her because she was very organised. She was a registered nurse. She was a nurse. And nurses aren't usually that disorganised. She was known for being very independent and very organised. So the fact she forgot her driver's licence to use as an ID for the airport to get on the plane to go from Boston to Philadelphia, that's what kind of pulled up the first red flag for me. I have so many questions. Apparently she took a later flight. She sent her husband along first, and then apparently she took a later flight and then turned up with some flowers and apologised when he was at a bar or when he was at something and apologised for being late, and they forgave and went up to the room and blah, 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 and then he went and had breakfast by himself and then apparently went back to the room and told her, you need to go and have some of that breakfast. He had a conference, a 3-day conference to go to. He was a lawyer who worked in the medical ethics industry. I haven't been able to find any reports of an autopsy because I have questions. Nobody's reported, okay, I can't jump ahead. So I have questions, like I said, but I've put links in the description box below because I'm running down 2 lines of theory with this. Either she turned up at the airport and realised that she didn't have her driver's licence because he did that on purpose so that she would be forced to go back to the house, and she was taken from there, because I don't believe for 1 second she went to Philadelphia. I do not believe for 1 second she went to Philadelphia. I think she was killed while he was in Philadelphia, and he was making sure that he was known in places like having breakfast by himself in the hotel, being at the soiree thing, like making sure he was being seen at the time she was missing. All I've been able to find out about in regards to her death is that she was stabbed. It wasn't a robbery, she was stabbed. But they believed that she had been dead for as long as she had been reported missing, which was like the day after they arrived. So I don't believe she left Boston. I don't believe she got on that plane to fly to Philadelphia at all. I believe she was taken and killed and her body dumped in North Carolina, Asheville, I think it was, North Carolina. And my reason is this. Firstly, even the cops thought the husband was dodgy. Secondly, there were 3 homeless women that were almost identical to what she looked like in Philadelphia, and one of them was so convincingly like his mother, like Judy. Judy's own son thought this homeless woman was his mother. One of these homeless women was acting nuts, saying and doing really nuts things, but she was talking about how the emperor was going to be paying her money so she could go along her way, like go her own way. And I believe that he paid these homeless women to impersonate his wife. The cops, when they investigated the room, said that her clothes, she was seen in the clothes she got on the plane. You know, apparently she wore the same clothes that she was wearing on the plane and turned up with, and the next day, and all of that. And that it appears like the clothes in her room hadn't even looked like they'd been worn or lived in or used or anything like that. Giving the impression she was never in that room. And I think that he paid the homeless woman money to dress up and pretend to be her, to make it look like she was there, because this woman looks so much like Judy. Even her own son thought it was Judy. And this woman was talking about how the emperor owed her money. So I think that he paid someone to impersonate his wife to show up, because she was only showing up briefly. The hotel staff weren't saying, oh, yeah, she was coming in and out, or, yeah, she came in with him or came out with. There was nothing like that. It was all based on what he was saying. And then after her body was found, he had her cremated. And I'm always suspicious of people who cremate the bodies when there's disappearances like that. Because I'm wondering if there wasn't something in her system, because he was a lawyer for the drugs. Now, he refused to take a lie detector test unless it was conducted by the FBI, which is weird. But he's a lawyer who will have dealings with the FBI where maybe they would have helped him out. Because we know we can't trust the FBI. I mean, they've proven that with the whole Donald Trump thing. We know we can't trust them. They're as dodgy as the CIA. They're an embarrassment to the badge. The FBI boys that I worked with back in the day were genuine. They were solid, but yeah. So I really don't think she got to Philadelphia. I think he had other people impersonating Judy. And then after her body was found, 600 miles from Philadelphia, Massachusetts isn't that far from North Carolina, because I know for a fact, because I was staying in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and I took a bus down to North Carolina. to stay with Nikki and back in the day my best friend Priscilla. And I like it was a trip I made in a day. So left very early in the morning. It was an awesome trip too. It was one of the greatest adventures of my life. But, you know, it is possible. And so I think he had people take her out and impersonate her if the airline, see, because the thing is, he could have had someone impersonating his wife on the plane as well, because of the fact that people said that this homeless woman looked identical to her. There were 3 women that could have been passed off as her, but one of them was identical to the point where her own son thought it was her. So it's one of 2 things. Either she never made it to Philadelphia and was taken to North Carolina and just happened to be killed where apparently her ex-husband, it's the area where he was from, so maybe tried to make it look like it was him. Or if she did take the flight to Philadelphia, he then promptly had her removed and then used the homeless woman to stand in. Now, there's somebody in a store that said she was talking to Judy, and that, you know, Judy told her this whole life story, which was completely unnecessary for someone who was just in a shop. So it's like he was getting these stand-ins to make sure that they left a memory on the witnesses. And that, you know, when people want someone killed and they are getting other people to do it for them, they will always, and I've discussed this before, they will always make sure that they're seen in public so that they've got proof that they weren't anywhere near the murder or the disappearance or the whatever. But it's the fact that when the police went up to their room, they said her stuff didn't even look like it had been touched or worn or used in any way. And the backpack that was found beside her body had really expensive sunglasses in it, and her friend said that was not her. So whoever it was that killed her had money or had been given money. She hadn't been robbed or anything. So either she never made it, she never got on that plane, or if she did get on that plane, she never made it as far as the hotel. But he had her stuff with her just in case, or the person who took her handed him her stuff. But I truly believe that the husband had something to do with it, and he had women that look like her impersonate her to get away with her murder. If she made it on the plane, she never got to the hotel, but whoever took her was able to hand her stuff, because remember, the woman turned up with the flowers and the apology and the bag, so that could have been, you know, her handing over the stuff to the husband to make it look like she'd been in the room. But the husband and Judy were never seen together in the same place up until, apart from where she turned up with the flowers. And then that homeless woman talking about the emperor owing her money, and then she could go about her way. So I think that he paid homeless people to help him dispose of her body, or he killed her and she was killed before she left Boston and her body taken down to North Carolina. Because the thing is, This was in the days before they had cameras and stuff, 1996. And it was her driver's license that they used for her ID. If I'm suspicious of the fact that she forgot her driver's license, because everyone said that that didn't sound like her. She sounds, see, I'm very organised as well. People love travelling with me because, like, I'm I'm like the best person to travel with because I have everything from A to Z in perfect, meticulous, itinerant order. I'm very, very militarian when it comes to stuff like that. And she sounds like she was exactly the same. So for her to forget her driver's license and had to go back, either it's all a lie and then the airport just assumed. See, because this is what I'm saying, I have questions. The airline have never said that's her that got on the plane. All we know is that she went back to get her driver's license and took the flight to Philadelphia from Boston after she got her driver's license. But there's no evidence she actually took the flight. There's no one saying a woman by that name took the flight. So I have questions. If a woman by that name took the flight, was it really her? Because from what the police were saying in regards to her body, she died pretty much as soon as she went missing. She died pretty much from the time he flew from Boston to Philadelphia, and then the next day reported her missing, or the day after that, because apparently she went missing the day after they arrived, and then he reported her missing the next day. And they said she's been dead that whole time. So either she was dead before he left Boston, or she was taken as soon as she arrived in Boston. Whoever picked her up at the airport, did he say, I'll have someone pick you up at the airport? And when she arrived, they took her to North Carolina and stabbed her and killed her. And then drove back. 600 miles. It's not that far. You could do that trip in a day in a hire car if he hired a car for someone, and if she rang the hotel and said, I'm taking this flight at this time, and he said, I'll have someone come pick you up, or I'll have a taxi waiting, or whatever, and then it was all a setup, and then they took her and killed her, and then had someone impersonate her. Or she never made it to Philadelphia and he had people impersonating her. I want to know where these homeless people came from that look like her. Are they from the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area? Did they move from other parts of the country? Because, I'm telling you now, he had something to do with it. Also, as well, in the interview on Unsolved Mysteries, one of the things I noticed, he was saying things about her that weren't necessarily positive. There are some people, when they hurt their spouses or loved ones and that, they can't hide their disdain. And there were a couple of things that he was saying that just sounded a little bit kind of pointed. It was even suggested that she was going through a midlife crisis. She was 50. So I'll put links in the description box. Read everything that's in there. I've also put the Unsolved Mysteries link in there. But it's the first one. When you click on it, it's the first one. There's also a segment in there about a woman who talks to animals, which I was laughing because he said, he was talking about Dr. Dolittle. People say that she's like Dr. He was like, you've heard of Dr. Dolittle or something. This woman defies all the skeptics, and I was just laughing because I thought, yeah, it's called natural telepathy, and I was called Debbie Doolittle my whole life because I talk to the animals too. It's like my favourite gift in the whole world, natural telepathy. So, but yeah, have a listen. And I'm telling you now, I reckon he killed it. They're saying he tried to say because he was a really big, overweight, like walrus of a guy. He couldn't have possibly killed her because because of his size and medical issues and that, he couldn't have possibly like moved a body and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, you'd be surprised the strength that people have when they're angry and full of hatred. However, I do believe that he got other people involved. I want to know if there was life insurance policies that he got. And the cremation thing, it gets me every time. Was something put in her system because he had access to that sort of thing? It's just, all I know is that they said from the cuts around her bra and, body, she was stabbed, but I haven't been able to find anything about an autopsy and toxicology. But I mean, this back in those days, if they thought, oh, well, she's been stabbed, they might not have necessarily done a toxicology report. They identified her through dental records. They found her 5 months after he reported her missing, out in the middle of nowhere by the area of her ex-husband. And I think that he thought this out, and I think he had other people help him and had other people pretending to be her. When your own son thinks that the person is their mother, I mean, it's a bit of a coincidence, but the one who was talking crazy and touching herself in public and all that sort of thing, she's the one that was talking about the emperor owing her money so that she could go on her way or something. But the links are in the description box. You have a look yourself, but I'm telling you now, it stinks to high heaven. I 100% believe that he was involved, and I think either she never made it to Philadelphia, or if she did make it to Philadelphia, he had her taken out before she got near the airport, and that whoever turned up with the flowers to apologise was the fake, was the homeless person, that he got to impersonate her. The cops said that hotel room looked like she'd never even been there, even though her stuff was there. So he was lying. I'm telling you, he was lying. Why? Was he having an affair? Was the woman he was having an affair with involved? Because that's what I thought with the sunglasses. They were worth a lot of money, like 180, 190 quid or something, dollars they were worth or something. They were $100 and something, which back in 1996, they were expensive glasses, and the mistress always has the bling. It's always the mistress that has the bling. The wife is the one that's always humble, but the mistress has the bling. So I'm just, God, I forgot my coffee. So yes, so I'm just putting it out there. I think that he had help. If he had a mistress, she helped, and had homeless people help. And either she didn't leave Boston, or she was taken out the second she got to Philadelphia and people were waiting for her, and that he had stand-ins. I have questions. Autopsy, airline, life insurance, and toxicology reports as to why she was cremated. But I'll put links in. You have a look yourself. But yeah, it's a bit dodgy to me. But he's dead now, so if he was involved, he would have answered to Satan a long time ago. Bless her heart. So yeah, I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō.